Mhm.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Daniel Betancourt here with eXp Realty, Team Betancourt. And today I have the pleasure of being here with Crystal Mojica. Welcome,
Hi.
Crystal. So a couple days ago, actually it was yesterday on Throwback Thursday with Lewis, we were talking about some real estate success stories. And I talked all about, I don't know if you saw the video, but I was just sharing a little bit about the transaction that we had,
Mhm.
several transactions that we've had over the years.
Mhm.
And first of all, just wanted to thank you and your dad and your whole family for always recommending the team and myself for your family's real estate needs. I appreciate
Yeah.
you all tons and
Thank
tons.
you. No, thank you because you make the process very easy. And I know it's a scary process, but I know everyone's had such a smooth transition. So thank you for all
Oh,
you do.
thank you for that. And I was just sharing how when you and I first met, your dad came to me and he was like, "Hey, my daughter, I'm encouraging her to be a homeowner."
Mhm.
I could start the story farther back than that. When I met your dad for the first time, uh, he had a house in Altamont Springs, and it was being
Mhm.
purchased by the Department of Transportation, right, through eminent
Yep.
domain. They were
Yeah.
buying your
Yep.
family's house so they could build a dry retention pond. Essentially,
Mhm.
they were going to
Yeah,
knock
that's what
down
it
all
turned
the
out to
homes.
be.
They were going to knock down all the homes on the block so they can create this giant retention pond for the rain.
Right.
It was probably a house that your dad bought years ago, and I knew your dad loved the
He didn't
house.
want to move. That was his home.
That was his home, and the government came
Mhm.
along and said, "Hey, we like your neighborhood for different reasons, and we have to buy it."
Yeah.
And so your dad, he looked me up, and we talked about it, and I coached him through that process, and he was able to, maximize what he got out of the house from the Department of Transportation at the time. Then I
Mhm.
helped him buy his house, which he's still in, and I know he loves. And then he told me my daughter's ready to buy her house, and we've been encouraging her, and call her up. So then you and I spoke for the first time.
Yeah, and at 23 years old, I had no idea what I was doing. I just said, I want a house, and my dad pointed me to you, and I said, okay. And from there on, I think that's where you helped me take the lead on that.
Yeah, so at 23 years old, which is awesome, you're shopping for a house for the first time, and you didn't have a
Hmm.
giant budget, right? Like most
Mm-mm.
23-year-olds, it's your first house. So, what was
Nope.
your budget? Do you remember what your budget was at
My
23 years
first
old?
budget was 65,000, and just to think, I wanted to be in Altamont, which is an area where now, of course now, but back then it was very difficult for me to find something with that budget.
Yeah.
Um, Let alone, wanting to stay in that school zone for my daughter. So it was difficult, but we did it. We found a house and it worked.
Yep. So we were looking around, and I remember we saw some interesting houses at
Oh
$65,000
yeah.
budget. We're going to see some
Yeah.
interesting houses that,
Hmm.
as anyone can imagine. So we
Hmm.
saw a
For
few homes
sure.
that
We did.
were
A
not the
few
winner,
homes that I ran out. I don't know how much faster I could have ran out of those houses, but it was fun. I enjoyed it.
but on the end of that story, you bought a house, and
Hmm.
we got it for $65,000, right?
Yep, right on the money. 65 exactly.
And that was a pretty nice house. You had a good sized property,
Yeah, it was
and
a good house. It was a nice area. It's what I asked for. 3 bedroom, 2 bath, enough for us. It was a fixer upper, but I actually, crazy me, enjoyed that. So that's kind of what I was looking for too. So it worked out both ways.
it was a fixer upper. And over the next 5 years, that's what you did. You
Yep.
fixed it, fixed it up, and you
Yeah.
did a lot of the work yourself and your dad. I know
Mhm.
your dad helped
Mhm.
you, and then about 5 years later, almost exactly at the same time, same month that you bought the house, 5 years
Yeah.
later,
Yeah.
you got back in touch and you were ready to sell the
Actually, I
house.
think it was the same day. Remember, we found that to be so funny that we're like, you're closing on this house, like selling it the same day that you actually bought it. So that was
five
pretty
years
cool. I
later.
had I had my 5 year mark.
Yes, yes. And
Hmm.
so you sold it for about $165,000. and you basically made your first $100,000 in one day.
Yes, I sure did. That was my first flip, and I got a taste of that. And I think that was my newfound, like, if I can be anything, I would love to flip homes. Like that actually encouraged me a lot more to want to do that.
So you were 23 when you bought it. So 5 years
Mm-hmm.
later, I'm doing the
Mm-hmm.
math. Let me get a calculator. You were 28, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't need
And
a
I said,
calculator.
time for a new home.
So you had $100,000 to work with. Really, you were taking the money that you made on your first house, and you were going to be applying it to your new house.
Yeah.
And same thing, like to think $65,000 for a habitable, nice house in a nice neighborhood like Altamont Springs. That seems, not that realistic, especially by today's standards.
No,
But
not at all.
then we're looking in the $200,000 range 5 years later, and you're like, it would be nice to have a pool.
Yeah, that's where I'm sitting. This is where I spend a lot of my time in the porch by the pool.
Yes. So then you basically upgraded to the house that you're in now, which is a beautiful pool home. And if I remember correctly, you bought it for $209,000.
Yes, I did. Which is
Yes.
not, I think now that's unheard of too, especially in this area.
What month was it that we closed on these homes?
August.
August. Okay.
I want to say I closed on the sale of my first house mid-July, and I think I closed here August 11th, I want to say. So
Okay.
that worked out.
So now, coincidentally, it's 5 years later again.
I know. Don't tempt me with a good time, Daniel, because I get the itch where I'm like, okay, I did remodels here. Like, okay, the market's good, but I'm going to sit still.
Yeah. So 5 years later. And so now your home that you bought for 209, I was doing a little bit of research a couple days ago, and I would say 375 very easily. By today's market, they'd probably bid it up because pool homes right now are super hot commodity and they're all getting multiple offers. So it would not surprise me one bit if someone was willing to pay $400,000 for your house.
I know. That sounds like a good number, though.
It sounds
a very good number.
It sounds enticing. But the whole point is that you bought for 65, you made $100,000 in 5 years, and you made another over $100,000 in 5 years. And it's an incredible success story, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so
it is.
You're an inspiration to a lot of people out there who might be thinking about buying a house, but maybe they're timid, maybe they're afraid of commitment. I know it was a big commitment for you at the time, but
it is. But I think I kind of took that leap of faith and just said, okay, I know this is what I want, especially looking at the market now of apartments. Like, you spend so much money on renting, and I'm like, okay, if I know I want to be in a forever home, why not go for it? And I know sometimes it is scary. I have lots of friends that are actually lined up to give you a call shortly, and they ask me like, okay, what do you think? What do you think? What about this? I'm scared to do this. And honestly, a lot of it has to go with you taking the leap of faith. And I also think a lot of it is you have to trust who you're going along with, because that makes a big difference on helping you be secure in your choices. And that's where you come into play.
Well, awesome. And it's great that you're that person that your friends are turning to and saying, hey, you've been successful in real estate, and can you give us some pointers and tips? So that's really awesome. But I know when I asked you, it was like to do this call, it came out of left field. But,
I know. I was like, well, me go live? I don't think I've ever gone live in my life, but sure, why not? Go for it.
But whenever I think of, success stories of customers of mine, you're the first one that comes to mind, because you started out so young and everything worked out so well. And so I just thought it would be great to share your story with anyone out there who's thinking about purchasing a home and they're afraid, or they think, they're stuck in renting forever, that, there's hope. And most of the time, over history, real estate continues to go up. And it's, for so many people, been the easiest way to accumulate wealth for yourself and improve your financial status. So, and it's doing a lot, for your family and just for your daughter. Long term, you're setting yourselves up for success. So congratulations on how everything has gone.
You.
And say hi to your dad and your family.
I will. Maybe they'll watch this. I'm sure they'll watch it once they see my face on here.
Well, I just want to take a few minutes. You can have an amazing weekend now. You've probably been looking forward to Friday all week. And,
for sure. Mm-hmm.
It's finally here. So have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much for doing this video with me. And we'll talk soon. I appreciate you thinking of me some more for your friends that are coming up. So
For sure.
thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.